My name is Clara. I'm 34, and for the last few years, it's just been me and my daughter, Lily, ever since my divorce. When a box from my parents, who I barely speak to, showed up for her 7th birthday, you should have seen her face. Pure, unadulterated joy. She ripped it open, pulling out a beautiful rose-colored dress that made her gasp. But then, as she looked closer, her whole body went still. "Mommy, what's this?" she whispered. I went to see what she meant, and my own hands began to shake. Stitched into the fabric were words that no little girl should ever have to see. If you're listening to this, I'd love to know where you're from in the comments, and please consider hitting like and subscribing before I get into what is probably the hardest story I've ever had to tell. Being a single mom wasn't a future I had ever pictured. After Ethan and I went our separate ways 3 years ago, my entire focus shifted to building a stable world for Lily. Our little 2-bedroom rental became our haven, its walls covered in her artwork and our weekends filled with movie marathons and stovetop popcorn. I work from home as a graphic designer, which gave me the flexibility to be there for school pickups and unexpected sick days, but money was always tight. My relationship with my parents, Richard and Eleanor Vance, had been strained for as long as I could remember. Growing up in their immaculate home in the Boston suburbs was an exercise in meeting rigid standards and earning a love that always felt conditional. Every success was met with a note on how I could have done better. Every failure was cataloged and brought up for years. My father, a high-powered investment banker known for his cutthroat efficiency, managed our family with that same detached precision. My mother, once a pageant winner who transitioned seamlessly into a life of country club committees, was a master of the backhanded compliment and the art of public perfection. "Clara, your project won the science fair, but just think, if you hadn't procrastinated, you might have made it to the state level," my father would say, his tone flat with disapproval even in the face of my win. "That dress is darling on you. It does a wonderful job of minimizing your hips," my mother would murmur while adjusting my collar before a family function. When I met Ethan in college, he was the embodiment of everything my parents looked down upon. He was a passionate artist, gloriously spontaneous, and came from a blue-collar family in Ohio. But he made me feel alive. He encouraged my creative side, and with him, I felt truly loved for who I was. "He will never give you the kind of life you're accustomed to," my father declared the first time we all had dinner. "Artists don't make a living, Clara." "You need financial security," my mother chimed in, pushing a brochure for an MBA program across the polished dining table. Against their wishes, Ethan and I got married in a small, intimate ceremony. My parents showed up looking stiff and uncomfortable in their designer attire. Their wedding present was a substantial check enclosed with a note that read, "For when the fantasy ends." I should have seen it for the omen it was. In a way, they weren't entirely wrong about our marriage. Ethan found it hard to stick with a conventional job, always preferring to chase the next wave of artistic inspiration. The mundane realities of life, paying bills, scheduling appointments, landed squarely on my shoulders. But it wasn't his lack of a steady paycheck that broke us. It was his affair with a gallery curator who promised him a solo show. "We tried to warn you," was all my mother said when I called her, sobbing after I'd signed the divorce papers. For Lily's sake, I kept contact with my parents to a bare minimum. We had stilted phone calls, exchanged obligatory holiday cards, and endured the occasional visit where my mother would find fault with my parenting, while my father grilled me about my finances. Lily hardly knew them. To her, they were just the people who sometimes sent extravagant but cold gifts, usually with a comment about how much more they could offer if I'd just see reason and move back to Boston. As Lily's 7th birthday neared at the beginning of May, she was practically vibrating with excitement. She drew up elaborate guest lists and changed her mind about her cake flavor on a daily basis. Chocolate with raspberry filling. No, vanilla with rainbow sprinkles. "Wait, can we do both?" she'd ask, her gap-toothed grin making it impossible to say no. We decided on a small party at a nearby park with 5 of her best friends. I'd been saving for months to get her the unicorn-themed party supplies she desperately wanted, plus the custom cake from a local bakery everyone raved about. Her birthday was on a Thursday with the party planned for the following Saturday. On Wednesday afternoon, the day before her birthday, a delivery van pulled up. The courier was carrying a large, elegantly wrapped silver box tied with a perfect bow. "Special delivery for Lily Vance," he announced, looking at his device. "Who's it from?" I asked, though I had a sinking feeling I already knew. "Card says, Richard and Eleanor Vance," he confirmed. Lily came skidding into the room at the mention of her name. "Is that for me? A present?" "Yes, sweetie, it looks like Grandma and Grandpa sent you an early birthday gift." Her eyes went wide. My parents rarely did more than send a card with a $50 bill. The year before, they'd missed her birthday entirely. "Can I open it?" "Please, can I open it now?" she begged, bouncing with anticipation. I hesitated. This sudden grand gesture felt wrong, but Lily's joy was infectious. "All right, but let me grab my phone. We can film a little video to thank them." As I went to get my phone, I tried to push down my unease. Maybe they were finally trying to be real grandparents. Maybe my father's recent 65th birthday had softened him. For Lily, I wanted to believe it. I had no idea that this seemingly thoughtful gift was about to detonate our lives and force me to face the very poison I had run so far to escape. The afternoon sun streamed into our living room as Lily sat on the rug, the big silver box before her. I aimed my phone, ready to capture her reaction for the thank you video. "Okay, birthday girl, you can open it," I said, trying to sound as excited as she was. Lily tore into the wrapping paper with the fierce determination of a child on the brink of turning 7. Silver paper went flying as she uncovered the box itself, a pristine white container with the gold stamped name of Belle Enfant, an ultra-high-end children's boutique I could only dream of window shopping at. "It's so fancy," Lily whispered, carefully lifting the lid. Inside, resting on a bed of tissue paper, was a dress. And not just any dress. This was the kind of garment you see in glossy magazines on the children of celebrities. It was a soft rose color, Lily's favorite, with a voluminous tulle skirt, a silk bodice and tiny iridescent pearls sewn along the collar. It was a dress fit for a fairy tale princess. Lily gasped, her eyes like saucers. "It's the most beautiful dress in the world." She jumped up, holding it against her small frame. "Can I try it on? Right now? Please, Mommy?" I couldn't help but smile, genuinely moved by her happiness. Whatever my problems with my parents were, they had picked a gift that Lily absolutely adored. As Lily ran to her room to change, I checked the box for a note. Tucked into the tissue paper was a heavy cream envelope with Lily written in my mother's flawless script. The card inside had a cartoon princess on the front. It read, "To our dearest granddaughter on her 7th birthday. We hope this dress makes you feel as special as you are to us. We wish we could see you more often. Love, Grandma and Grandpa." The message seemed innocent, but that last sentence was a familiar jab. Still, I chose to focus on Lily's joy, not my parents' manipulations. "Mommy, can you help me with the zipper?" Lily called out. I went into her room and found her struggling with the back of the dress. As my fingers closed around the tiny zipper pull, I felt the quality of the material. This dress must have cost a small fortune, an ostentatious gift that only served to highlight the chasm between what my parents could provide and what I scraped by to afford. "There you go. Turn around, let me see you," I said, taking a step back. Lily spun, the skirt flaring out around her like a pink cloud. "Do I look like a real princess?" "You look like the most beautiful princess in the entire kingdom," I said, and I meant it. The dress fit her as if it were tailored just for her. But as Lily continued to twirl in front of her full-length mirror, her happy expression suddenly shifted. Her brow creased as her hand went to the inside of the collar. "Mommy, what's this?" she asked, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "What is it, sweetie?" I moved closer. Lily's little fingers were picking at something on the inside seam of the collar. "There's something scratchy right here." I looked where she was pointing and saw a tiny folded piece of paper meticulously sewn into the seam, almost perfectly concealed. I carefully worked it free with my fingernail. I unfolded a minuscule note written in my mother's handwriting. Lily, ask your mother why she's keeping you from your real family. We could give you everything. My stomach plummeted. I quickly crumpled the note in my hand before Lily could see it, but her curious eyes had already caught a glimpse. What does it say, Mommy? Why's your face all scrunched up? Oh, it's just a care tag. For washing, I lied, my smile feeling like a grimace. Why don't you go back to looking at how pretty you are? But a quick, frantic search revealed more. Behind one of the pearl buttons, another note. I failed at my marriage. Don't let her fail you, too. Tucked into the hem of the skirt, we have a college fund for you. Ask why she won't accept it. Each new discovery was a fresh wave of nausea. The beautiful dress was a Trojan horse, a meticulously planned attack designed to sow seeds of doubt in my daughter's mind, to poison her against me and the life we had built. It was the cruelest form of manipulation, using a child as a weapon. I must have made some kind of sound because Lily turned from the mirror, her face full of concern. Mommy, are you okay? I took a shaky breath. Yes, honey. I just saw a loose thread. I'll need to fix it before your party. Can I wear it for a little while longer? She begged. Actually, sweetie, I think we should put it away for the party. We wouldn't want it to get wrinkled before then, I said, desperate to get that toxic garment off of her. Lily's face drooped, but she agreed. Okay, can you help me with the zipper again? As I helped her change back into her play clothes, I noticed she had grown quiet. Is everything okay, Lily? She paused, then asked, Mommy, why don't we see Grandma and Grandpa more? My heart fractured. My attempt to hide the notes had failed. She had seen enough. The seed was planted. I sat down on the edge of her bed and patted the spot next to me. Come here for a second. When she sat beside me, I took her small hands. Families are like gardens, sweetie. They come in all different shapes and sizes. Some people see their grandparents all the time, and some only see them on holidays. It doesn't mean anyone loves anyone less. It just means that sometimes grown-ups need some space from each other to be their best selves. It was a concept far too complex for her 7-year-old mind. But they want to see me, right? Of course they do, I reassured her. But sometimes the way they want to be grandparents and the way I need to be your mom, they don't quite fit together. Does that make any sense? She nodded, but I knew she didn't really get it. How could she? The tangled mess of my family was hard enough for me to understand. Tell you what, I said, forcing a bright tone. Why don't we call Grandma and Grandpa right now and thank them for the dress? You can tell them what you have planned for your birthday. Lily's face lit up. Can we video call? I want them to see me in it. We can try, but they might be busy. We can leave a message if they don't answer, I said, knowing my parents rarely picked up unscheduled calls. They preferred to control the conversation by calling back when it suited them. As expected, the call went straight to voicemail. Lily left a sweet, bubbly thank you, gushing about the dress and her party. I added my own brief thanks, keeping my voice perfectly neutral despite the fury churning inside me. After I tucked Lily into bed that night, with an extra story and more reassurances about her upcoming party, I went back to the living room and spread the dress out on the coffee table. With the cold precision of a surgeon, I started to examine every single seam. By the end, I had found 12 hidden notes, each one more insidious than the last. Your mother is keeping you from a life you deserve. We have a beautiful bedroom waiting for you in our house. Ask your mother about the trust fund she rejected. Your father left because your mother drove him away. By midnight, I had photographed every single note and saved them in a digital folder I labeled evidence. The trembling in my hands had stopped, replaced by an ice-cold resolve. This was a calculated, premeditated attack on my parenting and my relationship with my child. It was emotional abuse, and the target wasn't just me, it was a little girl. As Lily slept, I made a vow. This was the last time my parents would ever use a gift as a weapon. The next day would be filled with hard conversations and painful choices, but for tonight, my mission was simple. With a seam ripper and a needle, I carefully removed every last hateful message from that dress. If Lily was going to wear it to her party, she would do so without my parents' poison resting against her skin. Sleep wouldn't come. As I lay in bed, a flood of memories washed over me. A lifetime of moments just like this, a pattern I had accepted as normal for far too long. The dress wasn't a one-off incident. It was the culmination of a strategy my parents had perfected over decades. My first clear memory of their gift-based manipulation was my 8th birthday. I had begged for a new bicycle for months, the same model all my friends had. They finally gave it to me, a gleaming red bike with handlebar streamers. It was my dream come true until my father laid out the terms. "This bicycle will remain in the garage," he announced. "You may earn the privilege of riding it when your chores are done to our satisfaction and your grades are exemplary." A simple childhood joy was instantly transformed into a tool for control. Some weeks, I never earned the right to ride it at all. When I tearfully complained that other kids could just ride their bikes, my mother's reply was sharp. "Other parents are content with mediocrity, Clara. We expect excellence." As a teenager, the gifts became more valuable, and the strings attached grew tighter. For my 16th birthday, they got me a car, a sensible sedan, nothing like the luxury vehicles they drove, but still a huge deal. "Your own car," my father said, dangling the keys. "Now you can drive yourself to the SAT prep course we've signed you up for, 3 nights a week plus Saturday mornings." When I mentioned wanting to join the school newspaper instead, the car keys were suddenly confiscated due to unforeseen insurance issues. They magically reappeared the moment I caved and agreed to the prep course. College offered physical distance, but no emotional escape. They paid my tuition at the business school of their choosing, even though I had secretly dreamed of art school. Every semester, a new piece of tech, a laptop, a fancy printer would arrive, an unspoken reminder of who was funding my future. "We invest in successful outcomes," my father would say during our weekly calls, which felt more like interrogations about my grades and networking activities. It was during my sophomore year in a literature class I took as my one fun elective that I met Ethan. His passion for creating art, not accumulating wealth, was a breath of fresh air. He encouraged me to take art classes, which I did in secret, paying for them with money from my part-time library job. Of course, they found out. My mother made an unannounced visit and discovered my dorm room filled with canvases and charcoal sketches. "Is this what we're paying a fortune for?" she demanded, gesturing at my work with disgust, finger painting. The next package to arrive was a high-end leather planner, with every hour of my week pre-filled with business classes, internship interviews, and career seminars. The note inside read, "A successful life is a well-planned life." I sent it back, unopened, with my own note, "I'm changing my major to graphic design." It was my first true act of rebellion. In retaliation, they slashed my allowance, leaving me just enough for my dorm fees. I had to take on a second job to survive, juggling work and a full course load. By the time I graduated, the pattern was brutally clear, even if I didn't have the words for it then. Every gift from my parents was a gilded cage, designed to pull me back whenever I tried to fly in my own direction. Marrying Ethan was my ultimate defiance. After they failed to talk me out of it with everything from statistics on artists' incomes to a background check on his family, they shifted to a facade of support. "We just want to see you happy," my mother cooed at our engagement party, her smile practiced and hollow. Their wedding gift was a check for $25,000, with a note suggesting we use it for a down payment on a sensible house in a good neighborhood. When we used it to fund Ethan's studio and take a modest honeymoon instead, the chill was immediate. Holiday gifts became passive-aggressive jabs, books on financial planning, gift certificates for marriage counseling. As Ethan's art career sputtered, their predictions of our financial ruin started to feel self-fulfilling. The pressure wore on our marriage, not because of the money itself, but because of the constant weight of needing to prove them wrong. Maybe they were right, Ethan said once, during a bad fight over our budget. Maybe we were just naive. Those words were the first real crack in our foundation. If Ethan, my ally against their materialism, was starting to doubt, maybe I was wrong. That doubt created a chasm between us, a space where his affair with the gallery owner, Natalie, was able to grow. When our marriage ended, my parents didn't just say, "I told you so." They presented me with what they called a rescue package, a fully paid-for apartment in their city, a job offer from my father's friend's firm, and enrollment for Lily in a prestigious private school. All I had to do was admit I had failed and move back under their control. "Think of Lily," my mother had pleaded. "She deserves the best, but I saw the trap. Their help would come with constant monitoring and endless criticism. Lily would just become another pawn in their games." I refused, moving us to a different state and finding remote work to rebuild our lives on my own terms. Their reaction was a cold silence, broken only by the occasional gift for Lily that always held a hidden sting. A dollhouse for Christmas came with furniture just like she could have in a real house. An art set arrived with a note about developing a useful skill, unlike her father. I managed to intercept most of these messages, trying to shield Lily from the manipulative subtext that had defined my own childhood. Until now. Until they took it a step too far, injecting their venom directly into my daughter's world with those hidden notes. As the sun began to rise on my sleepless night, I knew with absolute clarity that this cycle would never end unless I shattered it myself. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from my mother. "Did Lily get our special package? We'd love to see a video of her reaction." Another followed a moment later. "We're thinking of driving up for her birthday tomorrow. We could take her shopping for shoes to match the dress." The sheer audacity of it stole my breath. Not only did they weaponize a child's birthday, but now they were planning to show up, uninvited, to advance their agenda. My thumbs hovered over the screen, itching to unleash a lifetime of rage. Instead, I put the phone down. This was not going to happen over text, not on their terms. This reckoning had to be face to face. Just then, Lily's bedroom door creaked open and her sleepy face appeared. I pushed down my fury and put on a birthday morning smile. "Happy birthday, my big 7-year-old," I said, opening my arms for a hug. Today would be about celebrating Lily. Tomorrow would be about drawing the battle lines. That dress with its hidden daggers had finally shown me exactly what I had to do, not just for me, but for my daughter's future. As we ate birthday pancakes shaped like unicorns, my phone kept vibrating with calls and texts from my parents. I silenced it, choosing to focus on Lily's delight as she opened the books and the new art kit I'd gotten her. Unlike the expensive dress, my gifts came with only one string attached: unconditional love. After Lily was asleep that night, exhausted and happy from her birthday, I laid the rose-colored dress out on my kitchen table. Even though I'd removed every note, their spiteful words seemed to emanate from the fabric. My parents had called and texted no less than 17 times during the day, their messages shifting from feigned concern to outright demands. "We spent a fortune on that dress." "The least you could do is acknowledge it," my father's last voicemail had snarled. Sitting there with a now cold cup of tea, I opened my laptop and typed emotional manipulation using GIFs into the search bar. For the next 3 hours, I consumed every article I could find on narcissistic parents, control tactics, and the concept of GIFs with strings. The language was new to me, but the behaviors described were a perfect map of my life. One line struck me particularly hard. A gift is not a gift if it comes with an obligation. At 1 a.m., I called Maria, my best friend, who had been a witness to my struggles with my parents for years. She picked up on the third ring. "Clara? What's wrong?" I told her everything, my voice breaking as I described finding the notes and Lily's bewildered questions. "Those absolute monsters," Maria hissed when I was done. Please tell me you're not letting her wear that dress to her party tomorrow. She loves it so much. I took all the notes out, but that's not the point, is it? They're escalating, Maria. They're threatening to just show up, trying to turn Lily against me. I don't know what to do. Maria's reply was instant and fierce. You have to cut them off, Clara. For real this time. But they're her grandparents, I said, the old conflict churning inside me. Number. Grandparents don't try to sabotage a child's relationship with their mother. That's not family, that's psychological warfare. Her words sliced through my fog of doubt. She was right. This wasn't just criticism or overbearing behavior anymore. They had intentionally tried to harm my relationship with my daughter. I have an emergency session with Dr. Albright in the morning, I told her, referring to the therapist I'd been seeing since the divorce. I'm hoping she can help me figure out what to say. To them and to Lily. Good. And when you do confront them, if you need backup, I'm there in a heartbeat. Just say the word. After we hung up, I started a new document. I organized the photos of each note and created a timeline of similar incidents from my past. Seeing it all in chronological order, the pattern was undeniable and chilling. This wasn't just a difficult family. This was a systematic, decades-long campaign of control. In the morning, I dropped Lily off at school with an extra long hug, then drove straight to my emergency appointment. Dr. Albright's face was a mask of professional calm as she looked at the photos on my tablet, but I saw the flicker of shock in her eyes. In my 20 years of practice, this is one of the most calculated examples of parental alienation I have ever seen, she said when she finished. These messages were strategically designed to undermine your authority and create a loyalty conflict for Lily. So what do I do? I asked, my voice feeling small. They're threatening to visit, to take her shopping. I'm terrified of what they'll say to her if I'm not there. Dr. Albright leaned forward. Clara, we have spent 2 years talking about boundaries with your parents. You have tried reasoning. You have tried limited contact. You have tried polite requests. None of it has worked because they do not believe you have the right to set those boundaries in the first place. I nodded, the truth of it settling like a stone in my stomach. I think it's time to consider what a total break would look like, she continued. Not necessarily forever, but an indefinite one, until they can demonstrate genuine change and a willingness to respect your role as Lily's mother. What about Lily? How do I tell her she suddenly can't see her grandparents? Children are resilient and they have an innate sense of fairness. You can frame it in terms she understands, about kindness and respect. You don't need to give her all the ugly details. By the time I left Dr. Albright's office, I had a clear strategy. I would meet my parents in a neutral public place, away from Lily, and lay out non-negotiable terms for any future contact. If they refused to acknowledge what they'd done or showed no remorse, I would inform them that I was severing all ties. As I was driving to get Lily from school, my phone rang. My father. This time, I answered and put it on speaker. Clara, finally. Your mother and I have been trying to reach you for a full day, he said, his voice sharp. I know, I've been busy with Lily's birthday. Too busy for a simple thank you? That dress was custom ordered. It cost over $600. Of course, he led with the money. Thank you for the dress. Lily liked it. Liked it? She should have loved it. Did she find our special notes? My mother's voice added, confirming they were together on speaker. My blood ran cold at how casually she said it. Yes, she found some of them, and that is what we need to discuss. Discuss what? We were just letting her know how much we care about her, my father said dismissively. I'd like to have this conversation in person, I stated, sticking to my plan. Are you still planning to visit? We're already here, my mother announced, her voice triumphant. We checked into the Grand Regent downtown this morning. We thought we'd surprise Lily after school and take her out. They had flown in, assuming I would just fall in line. It was so typical, yet it still managed to shock me. That won't be possible today, I said, my voice firm. Lily has plans, but I can meet you at the hotel restaurant at 4:30, alone. Without Lily? That defeats the entire purpose of the trip, my mother protested. That is what I am offering. I will see you at 4:30. I hung up before they could argue. At school pickup, Lily was still buzzing with birthday excitement. Can I wear my princess dress to my party tomorrow? She asked the second she got in the car. Of course, I promised. I fixed all those little scratchy parts. Yay! Grandma and Grandpa will be so happy when they see the pictures. I took a breath. Lily, honey, I need to talk to you about Grandma and Grandpa. Her face fell, sensing the shift in my tone. Are they okay? They're fine. In fact, they're here in town. Her eyes lit up, so I quickly added, but I need to have a very important grown-up talk with them first. So you're going to have a special play date with Emma and her mom this afternoon. But if they're here, why can't I see them? Her lower lip began to tremble. I chose my words with care. You know how sometimes grown-ups need a time out to figure things out? It's my job as your mom to make sure all of your friendships and relationships are healthy and kind. Remember how we decided you shouldn't play with Zoe anymore after she kept taking your toys and then blaming you for it? I almost smiled at her perfect, innocent analogy, exactly like that. Sometimes we have to set new rules, even with family. Lily nodded, seemingly accepting the explanation. I called Emma's mom, Lauren, who, after a very brief explanation, immediately agreed to take Lily for the afternoon. After dropping her off, I went home to prepare. I put the photos of the notes on my tablet, changed into a blazer that made me feel like I was wearing armor, and rehearsed my main points. Driving to the hotel, I realized my hands weren't shaking. My resolve was solid. For the first time ever in a confrontation with my parents, I wasn't looking for their approval. I was acting as Lily's protector, and that gave me a strength I'd never felt before. The hotel was as opulent as I expected, the kind of place my parents chose to broadcast their status. I saw them at a corner table in the restaurant, my mother's perfectly styled silver hair and my father's rigid posture making them easy to spot. Taking one last deep breath, I walked toward them, ready for the most important battle of my life. Not for my own sake, but for Lily's right to grow up free. The restaurant was filled with the low hum of conversation as I approached my parents' table. They were impeccably dressed, as always, my mother in a chic silk blouse, my father in a cashmere sweater that cost more than my monthly groceries. There she is, my mother said with a strained smile. Rising slightly for an air kiss I deliberately dodged by taking a seat. Her smile tightened. Where is our birthday girl? Lily is not here, I stated flatly. This is a conversation for us. My father's jaw clenched. We flew 2,000 miles to see our granddaughter, Clara, not to have tea with you. I didn't ask you to fly here, I reminded him. You made that decision on your own, as you do with everything. Well, we assumed after our rather generous gift, you might be a bit more appreciative, my mother cut in, her voice syrupy but her eyes like daggers. Did Lily love the dress? Did she see how much thought went into it? Their complete lack of awareness was breathtaking. I took a slow breath and placed my tablet on the table between us. Let's talk about the thought that went into it, I said, my voice steady. I opened the photo gallery and turned the screen to face them, showing the first hidden note. Would you care to explain this? My mother squinted at the image as my father put on his reading glasses. A flicker of recognition crossed both their faces, but there was no remorse. Those were just little notes of affection, my mother said, waving a dismissive hand, from a grandmother to her granddaughter. Affection. I swiped to the next photo. Lily, ask your mother why she's keeping you from your real family. We could give you everything. Is that affection, Mother? Or is it a deliberate attempt to turn my own child against me? You're being overly dramatic, my father interjected. We simply want Lily to be aware of the life she is missing out on by being isolated from us. The life she's missing? You mean a life of constant criticism, where every gift is a transaction and love is conditional on performance? My voice was still even, but I felt a hot flush creep up my neck. "We gave you every advantage," he retorted, his own face reddening. "The best schools, private lessons, a life you have denied your own daughter. You gave me things, Dad, not advantages. You gave me things with emotional price tags so high I'm still paying for them in therapy." My mother's expression hardened. Therapy? Of course. It's easier to blame us for your choices than to take responsibility for them. This isn't about blame. It's about boundaries. I continued swiping through the photos of the notes. You hid 12 of these messages in a 7-year-old's birthday dress. They were all designed to make her doubt me, to make her question her own life. Do you have any concept of how manipulative and damaging that is? For a split second, I saw genuine confusion on my mother's face. We were just trying to let her know we care about her future. By telling her that her father left because of me, by suggesting I'm purposely denying her opportunities, that is not care, Mother. That is poison. My father leaned forward, his corporate negotiator persona taking over. "Clara, you've always been too sensitive. We are trying to maintain a relationship with our only grandchild, whom you have systematically alienated from us since your divorce. I have maintained healthy boundaries," I corrected him. "Boundaries you have consistently ignored and trampled. This time, you went too far." "Too far?" he scoffed. "What exactly did we do wrong? We sent a beautiful, expensive gift to our granddaughter. A gift is given freely," I shot back. "What you sent was a weapon, and it is the culmination of a lifelong pattern." My mother looked genuinely baffled. "Pattern? What pattern?" "Every single gift you have ever given me has been a tool for control. The bike I had to earn the right to ride. The car that was just a leash to pull me to the classes you chose. The wedding check that came with the expectation that you would dictate how we spent it. And now, this. It has always been about control, not love." A waiter approached, sensed the tension, and retreated. My father used the pause to regroup. "This is preposterous. We have only ever wanted what was best for you. Number, you have only ever wanted what you decided was best. So what is the point of this meeting exactly?" my mother asked, her voice turning to ice. "To lecture us? To make us feel guilty for wanting to be involved?" "The purpose," I said, shifting into the plan doctor, "Albright and I had discussed, is to set new rules. If you wish to have any relationship with Lily moving forward, things are going to change." My father's eyebrows shot up. "Rules? We don't need rules to see our own granddaughter. Actually, you do. Rule 1, no more unannounced visits. You will ask for permission before coming, and you will respect my answer if the timing is bad. Rule 2, no more undermining my parenting. No critical comments, no hidden messages, nothing. Rule 3, gifts will be just gifts. No strings, no manipulations. If you cannot abide by these rules, you will not have access to Lily." My mother's face flushed with anger. "You can't keep our granddaughter from us. We have rights. Grandparents' rights." I let out a short, humorless laugh. "Go ahead, talk to a lawyer. I already have. In this state, you'd have to prove I'm an unfit parent, or that denying you visitation would cause harm to Lily. Good luck with that when I have proof that you're actively trying to alienate her from me." My father's face darkened. "Is this how you repay us for everything we've done for you? With threats?" "I'm not threatening. I'm stating the consequences of your actions. Your behavior has become toxic, and my first and only job is to protect my daughter." "From her loving grandparents?" My mother's voice rose, drawing looks from other tables. "We are trying to give her things you can't. You are trying to buy her loyalty and turn her against me," I said calmly, "and I'm not going to let it happen." My father stood up abruptly, his height casting a shadow over the table. "I will not be lectured by my own child on how to be a parent. We raised you for success, and you threw it all away on a failed marriage to some starving artist. Now you live in a tiny apartment. barely scraping by, and you have the audacity to criticize us?" His voice was now loud enough that people were openly staring. I remained seated, refusing to be intimidated. "Dad, sit down. Don't you tell me what to do," he snapped. "We're leaving. When you come to your senses and realize Lily deserves more than your stubborn pride will allow, you can call us." As he threw his napkin on the table, I delivered my final boundary. "Until you can acknowledge that what you did was wrong and agree to respect my role as her mother, we will have no contact. I will be blocking your numbers and returning any packages you send." My mother gasped audibly. "You would actually cut us off? Your own parents? I would protect my child from the emotional abuse I endured?" "Yes." "This is insane," my father sputtered. "Eleanor, let's go." Clara clearly needs more time with her therapist to sort through her delusions. As they turned to leave, my mother leaned in close, her voice a venomous whisper. "When Lily is older, and she resents you for keeping her from her family and from the life she could have had, you remember this moment. This was your choice." "No, Mother," I said, meeting her gaze without flinching. "This is the consequence of yours. The door will be open if you ever decide to have a healthy relationship, but I'm not holding my breath." They stormed out, my father tossing cash onto the table as they went. I sat there for a moment in the sudden quiet, feeling a strange sense of calm. A woman at the next table caught my eye and gave me a small, sympathetic nod. I nodded back, gathered my things, and left. As I drove to pick up Lily, I rehearsed what I would say. There would be questions, maybe tears, but that was a small price to pay for her safety. My phone buzzed, a text from my father. "Your mother is in tears. I hope you're happy." I deleted it without replying and blocked both their numbers. The guilt trip that would have shattered me a week ago now felt like nothing. When I got to Lauren's house, Lily ran to me, holding up a colorful drawing. "Look, Mommy, it's us at my party tomorrow." I hugged her tight, breathing in the smell of crayons and childhood. "It's beautiful, honey. Let's go home. Did you talk to Grandma and Grandpa? Are they coming to my party?" The moment of truth. I knelt down in the entryway to be at her level. "Sweetie, Grandma and Grandpa had to go home. They won't be at the party." Her face fell. "Why? Didn't they want to see me?" "They do. But right now, Grandma, Grandpa, and I are taking a time out from each other to figure out how to be kinder to one another. Remember our talk about Zoe and needing a break until she learned the rules about being a good friend?" Lily nodded. "It's like that. We need a break until they can learn the rules about respecting our family." "Will they ever learn?" she asked, her voice small. "I really hope so, honey. I do." As we walked to the car, she looked up at me. "Mommy, were there mean things in my pretty dress? Your face was sad when you were looking at it." My heart ached. There were some notes that weren't very kind, but I took them all out. Now it's just a beautiful dress for a beautiful birthday girl. "Good," she said with the certainty of a 7-year-old, "because I really want to wear it. And you will," I promised, buckling her in. "It's your dress now, not theirs." She didn't understand the full weight of my words, but I knew that one day she would. And when she did, she would know that her mother had chosen to protect her, even when it was the hardest thing she'd ever had to do. The week after Lily's party was a whirlwind of emotional cleanup and practical defense. The party itself was a resounding success. Lily, in her now benign rose-colored dress, was the star of the show, surrounded by friends, and she declared it the best birthday ever. If she felt the absence of her grandparents, she didn't let on, lost in the simple joy of the moment. The fallout, however, arrived in other forms. Despite blocking their phone numbers, they found other ways to reach me. 3 days after the party, a certified letter from their attorney landed in my mailbox, vaguely alluding to legal action for grandparental rights and demanding a formal visitation schedule. Instead of panicking, I took the letter to a family lawyer Maria had recommended. Sitting in Marissa Goldstein's calm, professional office, I felt a new sense of empowerment. Legally, their case is extremely weak. Marissa assured me after I recounted the entire story, including the photos of the notes. To be granted visitation, they would typically need to prove you're an unfit parent or that denying access would cause direct harm to the child. Their own actions completely undermine that argument, so they can't force it? It's highly unlikely, though they might try to drag you through a lengthy and expensive court battle out of pure spite. The real question is, do you want to sever contact entirely or establish heavily structured, supervised visits? I thought about it. I want Lily to have grandparents, but only if it's a healthy relationship. Right now, I don't trust them for a second. A perfectly reasonable stance, Marissa said, taking notes. I suggest we draft a response outlining strict conditions for any potential future contact. This would include a formal acknowledgement of their inappropriate behavior, an agreement to respect your parental authority, and a period of supervised visits only. They will despise that, I said, picturing my father's rage at being supervised. Precisely, Marissa smiled. It establishes who is in control of this situation. You. If they truly want a relationship with their granddaughter, they will eventually agree. If their pride is more important, well, that tells you everything. I left her office feeling protected, both legally and emotionally. Marissa would now be the buffer, handling all communication and shielding me from their direct manipulation. I also took further steps. I installed a video doorbell and had a formal conversation with Lily's school, updating her authorized pickup list to explicitly exclude my parents. The school counselor, Miss Jenkins, was incredibly supportive. Sadly, we deal with contentious family situations more often than you'd think, she told me. We'll flag Lily's file and brief her teachers. The conversation turned to Lily's well-being. She's asked a few questions, I admitted. I'm trying to be honest without being scary. Miss Jenkins offered invaluable advice. Keep it simple and honest. You don't need to demonize them, but you do need to validate that their behavior was not okay. Would you like me to have a few check-in sessions with Lily, just to give her a neutral space to talk? I accepted gratefully. The emotional work continued at home. One night, about 2 weeks later, Lily came to me while I was making dinner. Mommy, Emma's grandma and grandpa, take her for ice cream every Friday. Why are our grandma and grandpa different? I put down my knife and gave her my full attention. You know, sweetie, all families are different. And sometimes, like with Grandma and Grandpa Vance, people have a hard time showing their love in a kind way. Lily's brow furrowed. Like when they put the mean notes in my dress. I was stunned she remembered it so clearly. You knew what they said? She nodded. I saw one that said you were a bad mommy, but you're not. You're the best mommy. Tears welled in my eyes as I hugged her. Thank you, honey. That means the world to me. Why would they say that? Don't they love you? It was the question at the core of my own pain. How do you explain narcissism to a child? I think they do love me, in their own way. But sometimes people think love means controlling people or making them feel bad so they'll do what you want. But that's not what real love is. Real love is wanting people to be happy, even if they choose things you don't. Lily thought about this. Like how you let me pick soccer instead of ballet, even though you really wanted me to do ballet. I smiled. Exactly like that. Love is about support, not control. So we can't see them until they learn not to be controlling. That's right. And I hope they do learn, but only if it's a healthy relationship. These talks became a regular part of our lives, reinforcing healthy boundaries. In my own therapy, I worked through the deep-seated guilt. I keep waiting for the guilt to hit, I told Dr. Albright. They've sent emails through their lawyers calling me cruel, saying I'm punishing them. A part of me still wonders if I'm overreacting. That's a lifetime of conditioning speaking, she said gently. You were trained to put their feelings first, but think about it. When you remember those notes, what do you feel? I don't feel guilty, I realized. I feel angry, protective. That's progress." She smiled. Anger can be a powerful, healthy emotion when it's in the service of protecting yourself and your child. As we neared the 1-month mark, a new tactic. A huge box arrived containing an elaborate dollhouse that must have cost a fortune. The card just said, "We miss you. Love, Grandma and Grandpa." The unspoken message was clear. We can give her things you can't. Instead of hiding it, I used it. "Lily, Grandma, and Grandpa sent this. What do you think?" She studied it carefully. "I think they might be trying to make me miss them and be mad at you." Her insight was astounding. At 7, she was already more aware of manipulation than I had been at 27. "What should we do?" I asked. "Can we keep it, as long as I know it's that kind of gift?" she asked practically. I laughed. "Yes, we can. Knowing the difference is what matters." Marissa sent a polite note acknowledging the gift and reiterating our terms. There was no reply. My work life also became a source of unexpected support. I had to explain my situation to my boss, Alicia, to take time off for appointments. Her response was immediate. "Family boundaries are essential. Take all the time you need." The validation was like a balm on a raw wound. As weeks turned into months, a new life began to take shape. We had weekly dinners with Maria's family. Lily joined a soccer team and made new friends. Our world, which had felt so small, began to expand. 6 months after the confrontation, the legal letters stopped. I heard through a family acquaintance that my parents had gone on an extended trip to Europe, telling everyone they needed a break from the family drama. It wasn't a victory or a defeat. It was a confirmation. Their pride was more important than their granddaughter. And in that realization, I found a strange sense of peace. Lily was thriving, secure and confident. I was getting stronger, my old anxieties slowly fading. The pink dress hung in her closet, a reminder not of a wound but of our resilience. One evening, tucking her in, she asked a question that showed how far we'd come. "Mommy, do you think Grandma and Grandpa will ever learn how to love without being controlling?" I smoothed her hair. "I don't know, honey. People have to want to change. All we can do is keep our door open if they ever decide to walk through it the right way." "I hope they do," she said sleepily. "But if they don't, it's okay. We have lots of people who love us the right way." I kissed her goodnight, her simple wisdom filling me with a profound sense of peace. The greatest gift my parents ever gave me was unintentional. In trying to break us apart, they had pushed us toward a freedom and self-worth we never would have found otherwise. 6 months became a year, and Lily's 8th birthday arrived without a trace of the anxiety that had clouded her 7th. We planned a space-themed party at the planetarium, reflecting her new obsession with astronomy. The rose-colored dress was long outgrown, donated to a charity shop and replaced by a wardrobe of science t-shirts and jeans. In that year of silence from my parents, we had both blossomed. The low-level anxiety that had been the background noise of my entire life had quieted. My design business grew as I took on creative risks I would have been too scared to attempt before. For Lily, the change was even more profound. She had developed an emotional intelligence far beyond her years. She told a classmate yesterday that she wouldn't play a game if it meant being mean to someone else. Ms. Jenkins, the school counselor, told me. Her exact words were, "Real friends don't make you choose." That's remarkable insight for an 8-year-old. Pride swelled in my chest. The painful lessons from my family had become valuable life skills for her. My own healing had deepened through therapy. Dr. Albright introduced me to inner child work, a practice that felt strange at first but became transformative. I learned to give myself the validation I had always craved from my parents, which in turn made me a more present and secure mother for Lily. We even created a small ritual. On the anniversary of the confrontation, we started a freedom board in our kitchen, a cork board where we pinned little mementos of independent choices we'd made. Lily's included her soccer team photo and a drawing of a new bedspread she'd picked out herself. Mine included a business card from a new client I'd pitched on my own, and a ticket stub from a concert I'd gone to without feeling guilty. It was a visual map of our growing self-trust. My personal life also saw unexpected growth. I cautiously started dating again, now armed with a finely tuned radar for the red flags I used to ignore. 3 months into seeing Daniel, a landscape architect, he made a lighthearted comment about my outfit that carried a faint echo of my father's criticism. Instead of brushing it off, I addressed it. "Hey, that comment felt a little critical, and I'm sensitive to that because of my family history." His reaction was a revelation. There was no defensiveness, only genuine concern. He apologized and asked how he could communicate better. The healthy response was so foreign that I cried later, overwhelmed by the simple kindness of it. The 8th birthday party was joyful chaos. As it wound down, I had a quiet moment with Lily. "Did you have a wonderful birthday, sweetheart?" She beamed. "The best ever. And you know what? I didn't even think about Grandma and Grandpa all day." Her innocent comment was profound. Their absence, which once would have felt like a gaping wound, was now just normal. She wasn't deprived. She was free. Later that night, after Lily was asleep, I sat on our small balcony. The painful showdown that had felt like an ending was actually a beginning. The real lesson that had emerged was that true love in any form doesn't require you to shrink yourself. It liberates, it celebrates, and it never asks you to be less than who you are. By breaking the cycle, I had given Lily a different inheritance, one of emotional intelligence, self-respect, and unbreakable boundaries. My phone chimed with a text from Maria. "How did the space princess enjoy her day?" I smiled. "She's over the moon, literally. Thank you for everything this year." Her reply was instant. That's what real family does. Watching the stars appear, I felt a deep sense of peace. The journey wasn't over, but the hardest part was behind us. The dress with its hidden daggers had been intended as a weapon of division. Instead, it had become the catalyst for our freedom. In their desperate attempt to tighten their grip, my parents had lost their hold on us completely, setting us free to discover who we could be without them. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members to protect yourself or your children? I would love to hear your experiences in the comments below. Remember that recognizing manipulation is the first step toward freedom from it. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life experiences about finding strength through difficult family dynamics. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I hope it helps you trust your instincts when something feels wrong, even when it comes disguised as love. End of story.